Hey Most Amazing Top 10 family, I'm your host Che Dorena and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Annabelle is a spooky doll that they made a bunch of movies about. She can torment you all day and she's got a pretty good kill count for monster movies. Also, she's based on a real haunted doll that's locked away in a glass case that's blessed with holy water. But she's got nothing on the twisted criminals we have for you on today's list of top 10 real criminals scarier than Annabelle. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Also, follow Most Amazing Top 10 on Instagram because there is so much more content over there for you guys if you want to go check it out. And if you guys want some Most Amazing Top 10 merch, there is a link below. You can use the offer code MA10 to get $5 off, meaning you can grab a shirt for 10 bucks. And you're going to want to stick around for the whole video because I'm going to be reading out comments from the top 10 scary real criminals scarier than Michael Myers videos. So you can see this is kind of a sequel to that one. And without taking any longer, let's get into this list. At number 10, we have Robert PICKTON. Fun fact about Robert PICKTON, I grew up down the street from where this guy's farm was. It was like a 10-minute drive away. Yeah, that's nuts. There's a Walmart there now. If any of you are unfamiliar with the Robert PICKTON case, let me fill you in. And if you're a woman watching this video, this is gonna make you never want to walk around at night again. Robert PICKTON was a farmer in British Columbia, Canada. He owned a farm that was about 17 miles outside of Vancouver. He had many different kinds of animals. There were sheep, goats, but the livestock that grabbed everyone's attention was the pigs. It was one of PICKTON's farmhands, Bill Hiscox, who noticed something strange going on. Women would come in to visit the farm, but women would never leave the farm. This coincided with numerous women going missing from Vancouver's downtown east side. Eventually, the police went to investigate with a search warrant for illegal firearms. And then they saw something that was out of the ordinary. There was human teeth in the pig poop. How do human teeth get into pig poop? Well, Robert had been picking up prostitutes from downtown Vancouver, taking them back to his farm, killing them, and then feeding the remains to pigs. It's unknown how many women he actually killed, but there was an undercover agent posing as his cellmate, and when they were locked up together before the trial, he admitted that he had killed 49 women and that he was upset that he didn't make it an even 50. I guess everyone has goals. At number 9, we have Mary Ann Cotton. Sometimes you fall in love with someone and you think you're gonna spend the rest of your life together. And you do, but the end of your life comes way faster than you expected. Mary Ann Cotton was a master of premature death. Over a 20-year period, she managed to kill 21 people, all by poisoning them. This was back in the 1800s, so they didn't have the ability to test people to see why they were dying. They thought everyone was just dying from a fever. But after all of Cotton's husbands died, her kids and a bunch of her friends and relatives all died from the same symptoms, some people started digging around, and turns out she'd been poisoning all of them with arsenic. What was her motive to kill everyone close to her? Well, she would make money off their insurance claims after they had died. She was making it rain on their graves, living the high life while you're dead, baby. But she was eventually caught and hung in 1873. At number 8, we have Andrei CHIKATILLO. You might know this guy as the Ripper of Rostov. I can imagine there's a Russian horror movie about this guy because he's terrifying. To start off the breakdown of this monster, he used to work as a teacher, and this is where his attacks began. On more than one occasion, he sexually assaulted a teenage female student. Reports said he would ejaculate when he did this, and this was the fuel for his horrific acts. Sexual assault would just be the beginning. Between the years of 1978 and 1990, he would sexually assault and murder 52 different people. 45 of them were believed to be women, and the others children. He would usually kill them with a blade, leaving their bodies in graphic crime scenes. After he was caught, he was sentenced to death and killed by a firing squad. Good riddance. At number 7, we have the West Mesa Bone Collector. One day a nice lady was walking her dog and her little pup started to dig something up. It looked like a bone. And it was! But what kind of bone was it, Che? Well, a human femur. She then reported this to the police and a massive excavation of the area took place. 11 bodies and 1 fetus were found. All the women who were found dead went missing between the years of 2001 and 2005. An investigation was launched. It seemed like Albuquerque, New Mexico had a serial killer on their hands. And even with the bodies discovered, there was no motive and very little evidence. So the case went cold. And the true identity of the West Mesa Bone Collector is still unknown. And they're still on the loose. I just wanted you guys all to sleep easier tonight. At number 6, we have Sun Kai-yang. Okay, I'm gonna step away from the serial killer motive for a moment and stretch into an area that is terrifying for its long-term effects. Sun Kai-yang is a captain in the Chinese army and is a master of digital espionage. It's thought that Yang has been the mastermind behind many digital attacks against America and other Western countries. There's evidence that he tried to crash the American economy, and we all know what the long-term effects of that can be. In 2014, the FBI had enough and charged him with crimes against the American government, but seeing as this guy operates digitally, there's not really much they could do about it. The FBI was probably like, hey, we're gonna arrest you for crimes against your country, and he was like, okay, come get me. I'm over in China. Shouldn't be too hard to find. It's also suspected that Yang tried to steal American nuclear plans, and if China has a vast range of knowledge of everyone's nuclear capabilities, that would be a lot scarier than the Annabelle doll, and if you don't think so, you need a reality check. At number 5, we have Jim Jones. Jim Jones is known for brainwashing a massive amount of people and having them follow him in a cult. I think having a cult would be like kind of fun. Everyone thinks you're cool and you get to wear white flowy clothes all day, maybe even get them to give you their life savings and you live like a diva behind the scenes. Well, Jim Jones's cult didn't seem like it was that fun. It started in America. Jones started to get people to follow him as an alternative to Christianity. He preached his Marxist views at his self-founded People's Temple. Eventually the government caught on to what he was doing, so he had to move the entire operation to a compound in Guyana, which he named Jonestown. I wonder why. Eventually some reporters came to investigate after people who had escaped the compound talked about the inhumane living conditions. Jim Jones had those reporters killed. His time as a massive cult leader was coming to an end, so he joined all his followers in a mass suicide. 909 people killed themselves by drinking cyanide-laced Flavor Aid, but everyone thought it was Kool-Aid, which must have been a marketing nightmare. At number 4, we have Al Capone, a gangster who moved booze faster than Usain Bolt after the pistol fires. This guy was the biggest gangster of his time, and if you got in his way, he would just kill you. Al Capone was the man who famously profited off the liquor prohibition in the early 1900s. Everyone wanted to drink, but the government didn't want to let anyone have their booze. Al Capone was the solution for this predicament, and people didn't care who he was killing. There was even the St. Valentine's Day massacre that he was never arrested for. That's how badly people wanted booze. Eventually, he was arrested for tax evasion and died in prison from syphilis. At number 3, we have Harold Shipman. It's hard to find a good doctor, especially when you find out some of them are trying to kill you. Harold Shipman was a doctor in the UK that was responsible for killing over 250 patients. He basically had the perfect racket going to fuel his sick fantasies. He would inject his patients with an overdose of dimorphine, then sign their death certificate with a misleading illness. Finally, he would wrap it up by telling everyone that they were previously in bad health. He mostly preyed on women, but there was also a case of a 4-year-old boy that was linked back to him. He was eventually arrested, and after staying in prison for 4 years, he hung himself. At number 2, we have Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. This guy was the head of ISIS, but thanks to the American military and a very handsome doggo, they put a bullet in his head, which should lead to the downfall of this already crumbling organization. And good riddance. In recent years, ISIS has been the most brutal terrorist organization we have encountered. In the Middle East alone, they're responsible for the deaths of 170,000 people. This is leaving out all the attacks they've sent out on the West. Prior to his death, Baghdadi was considered one of the most dangerous people in the world, and there was a bounty on his head for $25 million. I wonder if they gave that money to that little nice doggo who tracked him down and made the strike team turn his body into Swiss cheese. During this horrible man's reign, he was responsible for spreading death and fear throughout the Middle East. At the height of their power, ISIS had territory in 4 different countries and were trying to form themselves as their own nation. Yeah, we're not gonna let that happen. Your leader has a hole in his head the size of a New York City rat. I think we can all sleep a little easier knowing that this guy's dead and gone. Lastly, we have one of the most horrible people who has ever touched the planet. The man who performed blood-curdling experiments on Jewish people during World War II. For our number 1 spot, we have Josef Mengele. If you are unaware of this monster, he was one of the head medical physicians in Hitler's army, and had particular interest in twins and people with deformities. If you had some sort of physical deformity, he would take measurements, remove body parts like fingernails and teeth, and then have you sent to the gas chambers. If you were a set of twins, he would do things much worse. He would often inject their eyes with chemicals to see if he could change their color, amputate limbs without anesthesia, all while checking what the effects had on the other twin. On one occasion, he sewed 2 twins together to see if he could force them to become conjoined. Another time, he killed 14 twins in a single night from injecting all their hearts with chloroform. Most of his subjects died from his experiments, and if you lived, he would have you killed for autopsy comparison. Alright everyone, that is our list. I hope it didn't ruin your day. It was pretty depressing. And as promised, we were going to be reading out comments from the top 10 criminals scarier than Michael Myers video. Fluffy Pink Chaos wrote, I want to see the hosts of all the channels dress up. I'm assuming you mean for Halloween, not just some other purpose. We might do that, or maybe we won't. I think we're still undecided, but check on Halloween to see if we do. Dank Raccoon wrote, to be honest, if they can't be killed, they're not scarier than Michael Myers. Okay, like I get where you're coming from, dude, but I put terrorist leaders and John Mongrel on the list. John Mongrel has killed over 1,000 men. I think he might be a little scarier than Michael Myers because he's also in real life. One with the gold wrote, Che, 10 criminals scarier than Michael Myers. Criminals not included on the list. Am I a joke to you? I love the meme reference, but to answer your question, this is why we're doing this list as well, because there's so many other crazy people out there that we can put on these lists and scare you all day long. Alright everyone, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I have been Che Arena, and hopefully I don't have to meet any of these criminals in real life.